Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the People Processes Podcast. I'm your host, Rami Alijil, and I'm so excited to have you here today. We are going to be doing a Q&A. It's been a very COVID-heavy week for us on the podcast. We had a lot of COVID questions pile up, so we're going to deal with a few of them. These are two questions that came in, one from an employer and one from an employee, and they're about the same thing. So the questions are primarily about employees taking COVID-19 FFCRA without proper justification. Or from the employer's perspective, trying to minimize fraud around this FFCRA leave. So we'll be diving into that. Just a reminder before we go, please subscribe, review. It makes a huge difference to us. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And of course, our podcast has been growing. We're at about 800 subscribers there, and I'd love to get to 1,000 as well on there. So please take the time to do so. It makes a big difference to us. Now, here's the questions. I'm going to read the questions. So, question 1 from the employer. One of my employees who constantly calls off was refused time off for a vacation. They did not have the appropriate PTO. They were out. They are now saying that they have been around someone who tested positive for COVID and have been exposed to it, so they're going to self-quarantine for 14 days. Their original vacation request was during these 14 days. We offered to pay for same-day testing, but they refused, saying they were not comfortable getting tested. As an employer in California, what are my options to get this employee to verify that they are really isolating and didn't actually just go on vacation? Okay. 2, I am an employee. I became ill with COVID-19 symptoms, decided to quarantine myself for 2 weeks, and then return to work. I'm assuming it means did not, seek a medical diagnosis or the advice of a healthcare provider. Can I get paid for those 2 weeks under FFCRA? The answer to both of these questions is get a dang test, okay? The FFCRA does not give people time off for being sick. It gives people time off for being under a quarantine order, caring for someone who's under a quarantine order, or seeking diagnosis, which is a day or maybe 2 or 3 if testing is backed up. You do not get to take time off for feeling ill under these things. So, if you become ill with COVID-19 symptoms, Mr. Employee, you can take paid sick leave under the FFCRA only to seek a medical diagnosis, or if a healthcare provider otherwise advises you to self-quarantine, in which case they would provide a certificate saying so. If you test positive for the virus after seeking diagnosis, you may continue to take the paid sick leave for the rest of that period. You may not take paid sick leave under the FFCRA if you unilaterally decide to self-quarantine for an illness without medical advice, even if you have COVID-19 symptoms. Note that you may not take paid sick leave under the FFCRA if you become ill with an illness not related to COVID-19. Okay? To the employer who says, they say they've been exposed, they're going to self-quarantine for 14 days. We offered to pay for same-day testing, but they refused, saying they were not comfortable getting tested. Great. Come to work. If you show symptoms, or we don't want, then it's unpaid leave, right? It's a safety claim. You're saying, hey, you came to work, you had a fever, you say you were exposed to someone. That's one of those attestation questions that we ask. If the answer is yes to that, say, great. Under the FFCRA, we'll give you 2 days. We'll give you today and tomorrow to go get your test and get results back to us. Okay. If they go get their test and send you the receipt for the test, and then, hey, maybe it's 2 days, you give them leave for that entire time. Paid leave under the FFCRA. But 3 days is about as long as this could possibly take. Okay. Now, it does depend on your area. There are sometimes whatever, but you offer to do same-day testing. So, again, you can do paid leave for that. If they refuse to take a test, and they've been exposed, then the answer is, first of all, she's just said she doesn't feel comfortable. So the ADA says bar entry and don't pay them, right? You could, if they want to make a medical claim that maybe they can't get a test because of some health issue, then an accommodation would be something like we give you unpaid leave for 2 weeks, right? An accommodation would be that. Coming to work, not getting your test, it's just where you can terminate someone for that, okay? You have to keep your place safe. That's your responsibility as an employer. And for the employees who are trying to do this, you have to get a test. The FFCRA doesn't give you time off just for being sick. It has to be COVID, so you got to go get the test. It does give you time off to seek the diagnosis, paid, so you can use that. but it's completely reasonable. Now, how do you enforce this? Look, this is a COVID-19 request leave of absence under the FFCRA. It's available on our site, COVID-19 resources forms request for FFCRA. There's two. There's like a very basic one and a little bit more complex one. This is the slightly more complex. It's kind of for someone who has an approving HR department, but you can use either one. Doesn't matter. Key thing is it says, who are you, right? You request what day of your leave begins on and ends on. Give approximate dates is fine. Leave includes X number of days missed, and if there are any holidays during that, you have the employee tell you. Total FFCRA days to be used, and then it lists the reasons why people can take time off. The 10-day regular rate, okay, subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19, advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, I'm experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and seeking medical diagnosis. Those are the three reasons, and each one on the form over here says what you have to provide. If you're under an isolation order, hey, check it out. You need the isolation order. Send it to us. If you've been advised by the healthcare professional to quarantine, I need a certificate from the healthcare provider. And if you're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and are seeking a medical diagnosis, you require a proof of the medical visit and a submission of the test, right? That's reasons to take off. Now, this form can't be required that they fill out before they leave. If they're feeling bad, obviously you send them home. They're done. They don't come in. But before you pay them, you need something like this. You need this because remember, the FFCRA, the government's paying for. You're getting credit for this on your taxes. The government doesn't want you just to use it to give people time off. It's for COVID. You need justification. And you are supposed to get something like this filled out and the supporting documents. Now, the other reasons people can take off, of course, are I'm caring for an individual subject to an order described in 1, or self-quarantine is described in 2, in which case you want the certificate of healthcare provider for the dependent. 2, I'm caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed or child care provider is unavailable for reasons related to COVID-19. Fine. What do you need? School closure notice, names of children, explanation as to why you cannot telework if that's available, and an explanation as to why you must care for those children. If they're 18 years old, they can stay at home alone, right? Actually, anything over 14 is the normal rule there. So you need a process. Processes are cool, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this answers your questions. I hope this helps you. Don't get pushed around by your employees. In every one of these, this happens for everything. It's not just this. It's performance reviews. It's, am I going to ask the are my employees going to fill out daily reports? Are they going to tell me their time accurately? It comes down to your leadership. It comes down to whether you're going to enforce these things. Whether you're the manager, the HR director, or the owner of the company, this is on you. If you're not going to provide a safe place to work by doing these things, you're going to get taken advantage of, and you're going to wind up being liable. If you don't require employees prove their FFCRA requests, the IRS, who knows, maybe in 3 years they come back and say, why did I pay for this? It's on you. This is your baby. If you're the HR director or the manager, you've got to follow these things. And I hope the leadership in your organization is strong enough to make you do so. So I hope this is helpful. Sorry, I get a little frustrated sometimes when people know the right thing to do. They know what they're supposed to do. And it makes sense and it protects people. And then they let a recalcitrant employee not do it because this guy's a headache. Don't do that. Do what's right. Again, my name is Rami Ali-Jill, and I appreciate you tuning in. I do want to let you know, October 15th and 16th, we're having a digital summit, the People Processes Digital Summit. It's free to attend. Find information at peopleprocesses.com on the banner. Check it out. I'm so excited for it. I think you're going to have a great time. We're going to be talking about onboarding. We're going to be talking about recruiting, performance management, one-on-ones, management processes, even terminations, and what to do with those pesky alumni that you fired in the past. We're going to be talking about people processes, of course. So each one of these talks, you'll walk out, you'll learn a process, a thing you can implement inside your company to scale and grow your organization. And I can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun. 12 speakers, 2 days, free to attend, peopleprocesses.com. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rami Ali-Jill. Thank you for attending. Please review, subscribe. It makes a big difference. I really, 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 really appreciate it. Reach out to me at peopleprocesses.com if I can be of any assistance to you. Now it's time for you to go out there, have a great day, and get your work done. I'll see you next week.